In the Philippines, the law has never been just a career. It's a battlefield, a place where intellect clashes with integrity and where only a rare few rises above the rest. Throughout history, certain men and women didn't just study the law, they reshaped it. Their names became synonymous with courage, brilliance, and an unshakable moral core. These were the defenders of justice who stood up to tyrants, guided the nation's conscience, and built the foundations of fairness we still lean on today. They weren't just lawyers, they were legends, and their impact carved itself into the story of the Filipino people. These are the top 15 greatest lawyers in Philippine history. But this is only the beginning. Because the torch didn't die with them, it's now in the hands of a new generation, young legal minds who carry the same fire and the same fight. This list wasn't made by guesswork or popularity. It was built through careful research and a deep audit of achievements, intellect, and historical influence. Each name here earned their place after extensive verification of their academic records, career milestones, and contributions to Philippine law. Every profile passed strict standards: excellence in education, mastery of legal philosophy, impact on public life, and the enduring weight of their legacy. This list recognizes achievement in its purest form. It's not a monument to fame, it's a monument to mastery. To be included, each lawyer had to embody true legal greatness, measured by 5 core standards. 1. Intellectual brilliance. 2. Academic distinction. 3. Contribution to legal development. 4. Lasting national impact. 5. Courage and conviction. Across generations, spanning the nation's birth to the architects of modern Philippine law, these 15 individuals set the highest bar for legal excellence. They weren't just practitioners, they were architects of justice, guardians of the Constitution, and towering minds who shaped history. Their arguments shook courtrooms. Their decisions redirected the nation. Some were praised, some were despised, but all were remembered. Now, presenting the brightest, boldest, and most influential legal minds in Philippine history, the top 15 greatest lawyers ever to serve the Filipino nation. 1. Apolinario Mabini. Mabini was the mind that gave the Philippine Revolution its soul, its direction, and its laws. While others fought with guns, he fought with pure intellect. A brilliant UST law graduate who rose above poverty and paralysis, Mabini became Emilio Aguinaldo's chief advisor and the architect of the First Philippine Republic. He drafted the Malolos Constitution, wrote the True Decalogue, and insisted that government must be moral, just, and accountable. Even confined to a chair, he guided a revolution. Even in exile, his ideas traveled farther than armies. Known as the Sublime Paralytic, Mabini remains the earliest and purest symbol of Filipino legal genius. 2. Jose P. Laurel. Laurel wasn't just a lawyer, he was a legal empire. A UP law graduate who later conquered Yale, he proved that Filipino scholars could stand alongside the world's best. He became an associate justice at an age when most were still trying to pass the bar. On the bench, Laurel fortified the judiciary and reined in presidential power, reshaping the balance among the branches of government. As president during the Japanese occupation, he walked one of the most difficult tightropes in history, trying to preserve sovereignty under impossible circumstances. When he defended the Constitution before the Supreme Court itself, he didn't just argue law, he defined it. 3. Claro M. Recto. Recto was the backbone of the Filipino nation. A brilliant Ateneo scholar who graduated maxima cum laude, he later finished law at UST with honors after being denied entry to UP, a story often told to show that greatness is built, not assigned. Recto led the 1934 Constitutional Convention and shaped the 1935 Constitution, the very blueprint of the Republic. As Associate Justice, his rulings flashed with logic and courage. As a nationalist, he stood up to foreign domination long before it was popular or safe. Feared by the corrupt, hated by the subservient, but revered by history, Recto remains the fiery conscience of the Filipino soul. 4. Cesar Bengzon. Bengzon was the law made flesh. A UP law standout who ranked second in the bar, he rose to Associate Justice, then Chief Justice. But his greatest achievement came in 1966, when he became the first, and still the only, Filipino appointed to the International Court of Justice. At The Hague, he stood shoulder to shoulder with the world's greatest judges. his decisions helping shape global legal thought, integrity, honor, brilliance. Bengzon had all three. He didn't just represent Filipino excellence, he made the world listen to it. 5. Manuel A. Roxas. Roxas was the architect of a nation reborn, valedictorian of UP law, bar top-notcher, and one of the key authors of the 1935 Constitution. He helped build the legal framework of the modern republic even before becoming president. After World War II, it was Roxas who rebuilt the financial system, restored governance, reorganized national institutions, and guided the Philippines back to independence. To him, law wasn't just rules, it was the master plan for nationhood. 6. Jose W. Diokno. Diokno was the conscience of the Philippines, the founder of FLAG, the champion of civil liberties, and the father of human rights in the country. He was the lawyer tyrants feared most. Imprisoned without charges under martial law, he never broke. Instead, he turned his prison cell into a classroom, mentoring young lawyers who would inherit his mission. His courage exposed corruption, his voice revived hope, and his legacy continues to inspire every Filipino who believes in justice. 7. Ferdinand E. Marcos. Senior Marcos is the most controversial figure on this list, hated by some, admired by others. But this list is about legal brilliance, not politics. A top student of UP law, he shocked Manila's legal circles when he scored exceptionally high in the bar exams while imprisoned. He defended himself in court, won his case, and cemented his reputation as one of the sharpest legal minds of his generation. As a legislator, he drafted reforms that reshaped local governance and national development. As a professor, he mentored future leaders. His treaties, negotiations, and legal strategies placed him among the most formidable lawyers in Philippine history. Agree with him or not, his legal intellect is impossible to deny. 8. Joker Arroyo. They called him the Dragon, not because he breathed fire, but because he breathed truth. A proud UP law graduate, Joker Arroyo was the first lawyer to challenge martial law before the Supreme Court. He defended the country's bravest dissidents, Ninoy Aquino, Jose Maria Sison, Jovito Salonga, when the rest of the nation trembled in silence. From 1972 to 1986, no lawyer handled more human rights cases than he did. He co-founded FLAG and Mabini, turning the law into a shield for the powerless and a sword against abuse. In Congress and the Senate, he became a moral compass. No pork barrel, no scandals, no absences, ever. Joker Arroyo proved something that every young lawyer needs to hear. Real power in the law doesn't come from the title on your door. It comes from the principles you refuse to surrender. His legacy burns on, a dragon whose flames were made of nothing but courage and justice. Merlin Magalona. Merlin Magalona was one of the sharpest legal minds the Philippines ever produced, an intellectual force who elevated the nation's understanding of law far beyond technical rules. As dean of the UP College of Law, he dedicated his life to shaping generations of Filipino lawyers, reminding them that law exists for one purpose: to serve the Filipino people. A leading scholar of international law, he represented the Philippines in global debates on human rights, sovereignty, and national identity. His work fortified the legal basis of the country's territorial claims, including those in the West Philippine Sea, and helped define the Philippines' voice on the world stage. Magalona pushed back against the blind adoption of foreign legal models. For him, sovereignty wasn't just a constitutional concept, it was the republic's very soul. In the halls of UP, he wasn't simply a professor, he was a mentor who challenged students to think, to question, and to lead with integrity. His legacy endures as the scholar who gave Philippine law its conscience, and the Filipino nation its voice among nations. 10. Haydee B. Yorac. Haydee Yorac was a pillar of integrity in an era when truth all too often came with a price tag. A scholar, educator, and fearless public servant, she never bowed to political pressure or traded her principles for convenience. A top graduate of UP law, with a Master of Laws from Yale, she carried both brilliance and moral courage into every role she held. As Commissioner of the Commission on Elections, she protected democracy with quiet, unwavering strength. As chair of the Presidential Commission on Good Government, she pursued the recovery of ill-gotten wealth with remarkable grit and clarity of purpose. Yorac proved that moral authority can outweigh political muscle. Her name remains a symbol of how intellect, character, and courage can turn public service into a calling worthy of honor. 11. Jovito R. Salonga. Jovito Salonga wasn't just brilliant, he was unstoppable. A scholar of UP, Harvard, and Yale, he topped the 1944 bar exams with a stunning 95.3%, one of the highest scores in history. As a congressman and senator, he earned the title the nation's fiscalizer for his relentless defense of truth and accountability. After the 1986 People Power Revolution, he took the helm of the Presidential Commission on Good Government, restoring faith in institutions scarred by dictatorship. Salonga survived war, imprisonment, and torture, yet emerged with his principles intact. He championed national sovereignty, civil liberties, and the moral architecture of governance. As Senate President, he cast the decisive vote removing U.S. military bases, one of the boldest acts of political courage in Philippine history. He authored landmark laws, including the Anti-Plunder Act and the Code of Conduct for Public Officials, pillars of integrity in public life. Salonga's story proves that true greatness in law is forged at the intersection of integrity and intellect. 12. Estelito P. Mendoza. Estelito Mendoza was a phenomenon, one of the most formidable legal minds the Philippines has ever known. Graduating cum laude from UP Law and earning his master's degree from Harvard, he showed early on that talent knows no borders. As Solicitor General for 14 years, he became the government's sharpest weapon, winning landmark cases that shaped constitutional doctrine and strengthened state authority. His courtroom mastery was legendary. Judges listened, adversaries braced themselves, and even the most complex cases bent under the weight of his logic. He served as Minister of Justice, led the Philippine delegation to the United Nations, and later became the lawyer of last resort, the man people called when losing was not an option. Mendoza mentored generations of lawyers and remained a towering symbol of Filipino legal excellence. He was and will remain the embodiment of precision, intellect, and national pride. 13. Hilario Davide Jr. Hilario Davide Jr. was integrity wrapped in a judicial robe. A proud UP Law graduate and third place in the 1959 bar exams, he entered public service with a mind sharpened by excellence and a heart anchored in principle. He helped craft the 1987 Constitution, giving shape to the democratic and moral framework of the post-dictatorship republic. As Chief Justice, Davide presided over the impeachment trial of President Joseph Estrada, a moment that tested the nation's commitment to truth. He remained firm, fair, and unmovable, proving that justice cannot be bought, bullied, or swayed. Under his leadership, the judiciary was strengthened, ethics were restored, and public trust was slowly rebuilt. Beyond the court, Davide served as the Philippines' permanent representative to the United Nations, earning respect on the world stage. He was more than a jurist. He was the conscience of the judiciary and a guardian of the nation's democratic soul. Chavez. Frank Chavez was justice in attack mode, relentless, fearless, and absolutely uncompromising. A cum laude graduate of UP Law, he carried his brilliance straight into the battlefields of martial law, defending political detainees pro bono when their freedom was hanging by a thread. As Solicitor General under President Cory Aquino, he became the country's legal sledgehammer, winning 74 out of 81 cases and exposing corruption that others didn't dare touch. His petitions reshaped accountability and forced government to operate under the discipline of the law. Chavez didn't chase fame. He didn't chase power. He chased justice and dragged it into places where it had long been absent. Miriam Defensor-Santiago. Miriam was a storm, brilliant, thunderous, and impossible to ignore. She was the fiercest graft-buster the country had ever seen, wielding the law with unmatched speed, precision, and fire. Miriam didn't just pass up law, she dominated it. Her brilliance was razor-sharp, her command of the law almost unreal. She authored books that became essential reading for every serious law student, breaking down the rules of court, the penal code, and the local government code with precision only she could deliver. She mastered international law, too, shaping ASEAN agreements, influencing maritime doctrines, and leaving fingerprints on global legal thought. She had a rare gift, turning dense, complicated legal concepts into powerful, unforgettable lessons that molded generations of lawyers. Miriam argued cases, wrote opinions, and delivered judgments that shifted the way the Philippines understood justice. Her courage, legendary. She battled corruption head-on, challenged abusive power, and held the line for truth, never backing down, never selling out. Her mind was a weapon, her writing, a blade, her legacy, a fortress built on fearlessness and genius. To talk about Philippine law without mentioning Miriam Defensor-Santiago is to skip one of its strongest, smartest, and boldest defenders. And there it is, the top 15 greatest lawyers in Philippine history. These weren't just attorneys, they were giants. Titans who rewrote laws, protected the powerless, and stood their ground when the whole world pushed back. Their impact still echoes today in courtrooms, classrooms, and in the lives of everyday Filipinos. This list isn't about politics or popularity. It's about merit, courage, brilliance, and impact. Pure, uncompromising legal greatness.